HiCom 3704 Business and Professional Speaking class. I'm Megan Peterson, and as you know, I'm the instructor for this course. I promised that your questions would be answered by a professional speaker, and I have delivered. Sitting here with Mrs. Renee Rongen.
Hey, Professor Peterson's class. Hey out there.
She is actually a good friend of mine and is going to be my future neighbor here, so we're pretty excited. But she's also the owner of Renee Rongen and Associates. She is a speaker, she is an author, all-around extraordinary woman, and kind of a do-it-all woman. So we have your questions handy, and I'm going to have her get started with just an intro about herself and how she kind of got started in the professional speaking world.
Well, I'm going to tell you, class, here's the deal. If you've had that inkling in your belly, like you knew you wanted to be a speaker for a long time, do it earlier than I did. I knew I wanted to be a speaker in 4th grade when I got in trouble, and my punishment was to write a 5-page paper, write a paper, and then I had to give a 5-page or 5-minute speech on it. And most people would have been frightened in 4th grade, and my reaction was, only 5 minutes? That's how I knew I wanted to be a speaker. And I really didn't honor that for years. I went to college, got a degree in business and marketing from College of St. Benedict, and I went on and did graduate work at University of Mary. I lived overseas. I worked in corporate America for a number of years and then did consulting. And then I decided that I would honor that calling inside my heart and follow my purpose and my passion. And I did that when I was about 35, 34. And I just had the 20th anniversary of my 30th birthday. So you guys guess how old I am, how long I've been speaking. We'll see how good you are in math. Usually the speaking and the math don't go together. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's why I'm a speaker, not a mathematician. So I've been speaking for about 15, 18 years now, and I absolutely love it. You can probably tell I'm a humorist. I'm the entertaining type of speaker. So they call me for opening keynotes for big, huge conferences that usually have over 1,000 people. And I'm either the opening, closing, and or after dinner speaker. And I like people to laugh, and I really talk about, my keynote really is about legacy and how you live your life and what you leave behind. But it's very, very funny. Honor your passion. Do it earlier than I did.
Awesome. So Renee has passion for public speaking, obviously, but did you have an inspiration for getting, like, when you made the decision to actually get started, did something
the aha moment?
Yeah, what was your aha moment? Did somebody inspire you, or what was your big turning point?
Well, actually, death. Doesn't that sound weird? I actually speak about living because I've had so much death in our life. And for a gift, my mother-in-law, who passed away at 58, after my father-in-law had passed away at 52, and we had taken care of them, gave me a gift, and our whole family gift, and actually it was, we became land barons at, early 30s, and I had never been really a land baron, and my husband and I own properties, 1 and 2, plots 1 and 2 at the Little Norway Lutheran Cemetery. And not only did I own the plots, I had a stone there with my name on it that said I owned the plots. And we laughed really, really, really hard when we saw it. But when you see your name there, you see the date of when you're born, and you know that line in between and when you're going to die, the dash, is pretty revealing. Just put it down on paper if you really want to know how short life is. Just draw a little stone, put your name on it, and put your date of when you're born, and you'll realize that it really flies by. And I wasn't really loving what I was doing. I was, like I said, in corporate America, I was a consultant to large corporations all over the world. And I traveled quite a bit, and I had just started a family, and it was really hard for me to be away from my kids. And I wanted to do something that I could design that worked with family. And I wanted to be home with my kids when they were young, and take them with on the road. And I always did presenting for corporations. I did big presentations, so I really just spun the focus and reinvented myself. And so instead of speaking on, let's say, strategic planning, I now speak on legacy. And I called all my old clients and said, listen, take a chance on me. You know me. You know I'm funny. You know I'm fun. You know your employees love me. And you know what? I know you hire speakers. I said, so here's what to do. Next time you have an event, give me a call. I'd love to come and do your event, but here's the deal. Don't pay me. And they said, what? I said, yep. I said, pay me after the event is over. You pay me what you think I'm worth. And that was how I determined my base and fee for speaking. And that was a number of years ago. And at that time, I got paid for my first speaking engagement $1,300. That was a long time ago, and I've only went up and way, way, way up. So it's been a great deal, and no regrets. I don't have one regret as far as speaking goes. And now I have a team of speakers of 6 that work for me or with me, and on my administrative team I have 4. So I have 10 contract employees that work with me. So we've grown into a pretty big speaking company, and it is doggone fun. I love it.
All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit, and I want to hear about your presentation style and how it's changed over the years.
Oh, it's
and
serious.
Also, yeah, she's a really serious person. And if you change it according to your audience at all.
Absolutely. That's no, it's not serious, by the way, just in case any of you are wondering.
If you don't get
I'm
sarcasm.
a humorist. I'm a humorist. That's what I'm known for being the entertaining, educating, energizing, engaging speaker. That's what I've known in the country for. All of my engagements are by referral. It's by someone that's heard me and recommended me. And when I first started out, I've actually been fairly true to myself. At first, I took a lot of engagements that weren't a right fit, and I think that's probably one of the number one things that I work with my speakers on my team is make sure it's the right fit, because you can get paid a lot of money, but if you can't do that event justice and you haven't done your research and don't know that audience and will never be comfortable with that audience, that's called a wrong fit. And no matter how much you get paid, it's still a wrong fit if you don't feel good about it. So yes, do I tailor my keynotes to events? Yes. I just spoke for a company called Piedmont Gas Company. They have 30,000 employees, and I spoke to their senior leaders both in Charlotte and Wilmington, North Carolina. I live in Minnesota, and obviously I'm not in the gas industry, the natural gas industry. So my goal at every speaking event is I want the organization that hires me to think that I work for that organization. So I do a tremendous amount of research. That's key when you're doing any speaking, is when they say know your audience, know the good, the bad, what their fears are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what obstacles might come up in the process of your speaking. Make sure that you know that if there's any words that they don't like to use or words that are their buzzwords, make sure that you utilize those, and that can only be done by doing research. And I spend at least probably, I usually speak for an hour, but prior to, I probably do at least 6 to 8 hours of research for every client. So most people think I get paid for 1 hour, but truth be known, I get paid for 2 days, because I fly out, I fly there, I do research, and I like to talk to their employees. If they'll give me employees' names, I love to call employees up and say, what are you loving about the company? What are you not loving? What do you wish would change? What's the greatest thing? And you would not believe what people tell you. So do your research. Know your audience.
So speaking of audience, do you have a preference audience or a demographic that you really love to speak to? Is it
Yes.
women? Is it men? Is it, certain gender or certain type of...
I always used to say women's audience, but I love men's audiences too. And I love men. I have a lot of old boyfriends. But I love that too, because I can deliver the unexpected. Men think that you're going to be a certain stereotype. As a woman speaker, you're either going to be like a feminazi and I'm woman, hear me roar. But I really just talk about everyday stuff, and somehow God bless me with seeing the extraordinary and the ordinary, and that's really what I talk about. So anything I talk about is relatable and really transcends most audiences, cultures, ages, and demographics. So, as an entertainment speaker with a powerful message, my message is really transferable to a number of organizations and or audience types. And so far I love them all.
Great. So as you're interacting...
Wait, I spoke for urologists. I didn't like that. Sorry. Okay, sorry.
She got that in.
Sorry.
So as you're interacting with your audience or up, on stage, giving your presentation, how do you interact with them? And if you ever notice that somebody's, or maybe the audience is just kind of starting to lull off, or have you ever had that happen? How do
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no. How do you get them back? Do you have a, some sort of trigger that you use that you really like to pull the audience back toward your attention, or do you have any tools in your handbag that you...
Well, I think I think I'm blessed, Megan, is that to be a really, really good speaker, you can know your material, you can know your speaking. I've never used a note in my life. In 18 years, I have never used a note on stage. Mm-hmm. And I speak between 60 minutes and 90 minutes. And I've been blessed with this amazing gift of going all the way in every time I speak, so I'm a great extemporaneous speaker. I can, even though I know my topic, just like talking to you, I can throw stuff in that you wouldn't expect, or I'll call on people, but that's part of doing your research, is coming early. I go early to every event so I can meet and greet people, and I can kind of know who I'm going to pick on, and that way it makes it pretty fun. Like I was just at an event, a couple weeks ago, and I don't know, some guy right in front was answering phone calls on his phone, and he wasn't like a doctor or a sheriff or anything, so it didn't seem like an emergency, and so his phone was ringing and everyone was looking, there's 900 people looking at him, and I ran down the steps because I wear a cordless mic. I ran down the steps and I said, oh my gosh, I said, is it your wife? I said, won't it be a surprise when I answer? I said, just tell her it's the speaker. I said, she'll be so surprised. And for him, I know this sounds probably terrible as a speaker, but it's important to make sure that you have that control of your audience. And in a very funny way, everyone laughed, but he didn't laugh probably, because it was like, shame on you.
Yeah.
For doing that. Better. You should know better. And so I'm not really afraid to just jump in where I see I need to jump in. And as a speaker, and I talk when I talk to those that are going to be doing speeches and or in the speaking business and just starting out, speaking is like you have if you think of it, you have two feeds coming into your ear, like like they do in a band. You've got a microphone here and then you've got a feed coming in here. And that really is what it's like, because you're constantly surveying your audience. So I'm doing this all the time. And once I do that, I really know what I have to leave out, what I have to add. And then I try to pull in information from maybe one of the other speakers so I can dovetail it in. And a lot of speakers can't do that. But you always have to know what's going on. So this in your ear is like this looking around and being very keen to what's going on with your audience and knowing when to change it up, pull it back, slow it down, add some humor. That's really, really important, is to be constantly surveying your audience. It's a lot of work. You have to use a lot of parts of your brain. Thank God not my math time, but... Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And so you had mentioned going early, getting
Absolutely.
to know...
Well, that's part of preparation.
Yeah,
that's part of research.
Preparing and getting a chance to meet with, your audience, basically, beforehand. I have one student in this course who, his question was, about nerves before, and right after a presentation. And then I have a gal who had said the same thing, and hers was about really not the presentation part that they have nerves with, but the interpersonal communication before and after a speech, which is so important because you're a whole person. You're not just turn it on, turn it off. Have you ever had any problems with that, or could you offer any advice to the two students in my class who mentioned?
Do they want to be a speaker, or do they want to? Is this just before and after a speech? Before and after a speech,
yeah. Most of the students in this class are really in the business communication side,
okay,
not
great.
Professional communication.
Perfect, awesome, great class for you.
But they do have questions about how to deal with the before and after and the nerves that they're experiencing in the interpersonal
That's
communication.
normal. And you should, you know what? I still have, everyone goes, don't you get nervous? And, you know, everyone says it's their number one fear. And you know what? I don't know if mine would be nervous. It's more, yeah, a little bit nervous. And maybe that is kind of an exciting nervous. But I think every speaker should be a little nervous before they speak, because that means that you're still engaged, that you don't take your presentation for granted. And you know what, if I was you, either of those students, I would certainly take, you know, I always do these deep breathing exercises and center myself for 5 minutes. I usually go into a men's bathroom by myself in a stall. I know, I don't need a fancy green room. They give me all these fancy green rooms. I just go into a men's bathroom stall, get my stuff together and really think about it. I pray about it and take some deep breaths. And what is surprising to most of my audiences is everyone thinks I'm this wild, what's the word that starts with an E, that, oh my goodness. No, not eccentric, no. Pretty plain.
It does.
Eccentric, it does start with an E. What's the word for not introvert? Extrovert, sorry. Wow, see what happens there? Most people think I'm an extrovert, and actually, truth be known, many speakers are introverts, and it's where you get your energy. And I get my energy from, you know, writing comedy and or looking at life and being introspective. So it is difficult sometimes for me to get in front. It's way easier to go out on a stage. I'm going to tell you this, that, you know, you just have to walk out on a stage, you do your 1 hour and you leave. That's why there's a lot of comedians that are really private people, because they are scared to death of people. They're actually truly introverts. So this is not an uncommon feeling, but you know what? You have to work through that at some point and, you know, take baby steps, take some breaths, you know, meet 2 people before, then meet 3. And now I can do it pretty easily, where it's helpful to me. And I look at, and maybe just a little tip is, think about it as doing research for your next speech. Ask them questions, and so where you can control the conversation. And you know, if you're not, you know, people ask me all these personal questions because I'm a public figure on the road all over and fairly well known. And you know what, there's some questions I'm just not going to answer. And you know what, I answer them in a really funny way without saying the answer, and they know I'm not going to answer the question. So, you know what, no one's really probably going to ask you too personal questions, but it's important. And think of it as research. Don't think of it as, you know, being out mingling. Think of it as research, and you'll do much better.
It's actually a great tip. Very great. Okay, so a lot of the students, actually, their question was, have you ever had an embarrassing moment on stage or maybe with your audience before and after? How did you recover? Or if you forget your notes, or not think of notes, forget your line, forget what you're going to talk about, maybe mumble the words, whatever it might be, a screw up anyway. How do you recover from those kind of situations? Have you ever
never wear anything new? Okay, I just did this. I get all my clothes at Chico's, and I'm standing on stage, and I lifted my arm up, and you know, I had taken the tag out of the back, and someone's pointing to me from the audience, and of course it's a woman, because a man would never do this, but anyway, they're pointing to me from the audience, and I look, and you know, there's women, I don't know men if they have them, but there's a little safety pin that they put under here with the tag. So every time I use my arms a lot because I have a headpiece mic, so I'm like this, so the tag is swinging onto my arm, and of course I made it humorous and said, oh my gosh, I like to show people that I get a deal. This was $63, and so it was humorous. It was really pretty funny. The other time was not. Well, there's been a couple times. I mean, there's one where I've had a horrible audience, one time in my whole life, but just 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I was speaking to 1,500 lunch ladies. They serve the school lunches. And in the middle of my speech, I was telling a story. I'm known for being really a really profound storyteller. They're funny, they're poignant. Sometimes you cry, sometimes you laugh till your bladder can't control itself. If you're older, like me.
Even if you're not.
Even if you're not. But I was speaking, and right in the middle, and I'm going to set it up for you, it was in this big, huge conference center, and there was 3 monitors in front that are teleprompters, and this happens a lot when you speak on big stages. Teleprompters, and they usually have 3. One gives you your time. There's a running time clock that you can see all the time, so you know where you're at. The next one is a picture of you on stage, which is constant, and they can set it up anyway. And the third one is, let's say you had a PowerPoint or you had video that you were going to show up, because there's big screens behind me. And when I don't have notes, it's just me. So every single teleprompter, other than the clock, there was 4 of them, I guess, is all me. So it's just me, me, me. And I'm looking at it in the middle of speaking. As I'm looking down, I look up and I forget where I was at in this story. And it seemed like maybe it was about 10 minutes. But truly, I'm sure it was maybe seconds. I would say 10 seconds. But it seemed like 30 minutes. And I forgot where I was. And once again, that gift of being extemporaneous, I said, oh my goodness. I said, I think I lost my place. Was anyone listening? Do you know where I'm at in this story? And they looked, and everyone, because they're in the schools, they're raising their hands. And as they're raising their hands, they're yelling out to me where we're at. And I looked at them and said, oh, that is so good. I said, I was testing just to see if anyone was listening. And you know what? They came up after me. We love how you planted that in there. That was so fun. I didn't plant it in there. But it was scary. And I remember looking down at the girl in the teleprompter, which was me, looking at her for help. And you know what? She wasn't talking back, but it seemed like it was 30 minutes. I had just a pit in my stomach. So yeah, those are my 2 times.
Okay, great. Once you're done, you leave your presentation, you're flying back home, you're driving. How do you know that you were successful? How do you know that you made an impact with your audience? How do you know that your client was happy? They may have paid you. How do you know that they want you back? Do you have surveys?
You know what?
How do you know that you...
A lot of times they'll have them fill it out, as part of a bigger conference. But I guess that's the great thing about speaking.
Yeah.
And the profession of speaking. And particularly my genre of speaking, because I'm an entertainer and have a message is, well, first of all, in your gut, you know when you hit a home run.
Right.
Not everyone's a home run, but I've been blessed that most are home runs. But there's always room. You know what? Even I've been doing this for this many years, I can always be better. And I do listen to those if there's anything that say, oh, you should think of doing this. Yeah, that's a good idea. Or I'll take it under advisement. Yeah. But I have instant gratification in my job because people they swarm you like ants after. Right. And they want to hug you. And it's just because that's my message is that powerful and many times life-changing for a number of individuals in the audience. And you know what? They want to hug you. And I also am an author and I sign books after. And many times people will wait in line for an hour and a half for me to sign books. It's like, I wouldn't wait that long for like the Pope to sign a book. I mean, I'm serious. I wouldn't. I think it's crazy. And I hug everyone that comes through. I talk to every single person that comes through the line. I learn their name. I learn something about them.
And very personable.
And it's very personal. And then when I get home, and sometimes I'll say from the stage, and I'll say, oh my gosh, I pray about this before I speak. And, I say, God, just give me the words to touch one person. And then I'll get home, and there's like 55 emails, or get back on the plane and say, I was the one. And I'll say, oh no, there's 49 in front of you. That was the one. So it's an incredibly rewarding job. And, they either say I haven't laughed that hard or I haven't thought about that ever in my life. And it's life-changing. And I take that responsibility very personally, honestly, very personally. And I don't take it for granted because I would never want to give anyone wrong information that was going to harm their life. So I try to add to it and have them embrace their own life, and so that they can discover their own purpose and passion. And it's not about speaking, that's my purpose and passion, but I think everyone has one, and y'all are going to find yours. This is my own quote, and don't listen to anything else I say, because you have the rest of your lives in front of you. Is when what you're passionate about aligns with your gifts that you were given, therein is where you'll find your purpose. Everybody's looking for purpose these days, and that's what I talk about. And, you know, we go to, you know, we read 8,000 books, and it's really fairly simple. Where your passion and your gifts are in alignment, therein you'll find your purpose. That's the most important thing I can tell you today. So you can disregard all the rest, even if you get tested on it.
And remember that quote, because it's going to be on your final exam.
Don't forget. And please put my name beside it when you quote me.
Again, we do not plagiarize the
Yeah.
UMC. So, okay, so you've been doing this for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, you're obviously very confident in what you've built and how long you've been doing this and where you're at in your career. But over the years, how did you make improvements to your speeches, to yourself? Did you take other people's criticism in stride? Did you, what helped you improve?
That's a great question. Mm-hmm. Because you always want to be better. I mean, that is, you know, to work on your craft and hone your craft, you always want to be better. And the best way that you can get better at anything, I don't care what your job is, if you're a speaker, if you're a plumber, if you are in marketing, if you know you're working in a kitchen, you're a culinary chef, the best way that you can ever get better is don't do all these important surveys to your customers. I'm all about the customer experience. Ask them. Your customers will tell you what they like and what they don't. And I call them my tribe. I think I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I go to them for a lot. You know, I ask them questions, not just what I can do, but tell them, you know, I'm going out and speaking to this audience, this kind of audience. What would you want to know if you're in that industry? And you would be surprised. I mean, you've seen my face. I get hundreds and hundreds of people that, and I listen. I listen to them. I just used some of their words and quoted them when I was out at Piedmont Gas. And my Facebook, you can go to it. Renee Rongen is like kind of like an ongoing blog, and where I'm dialoguing constantly with my customers who are my audience attendees, but they're also my meeting planners. Most of my meeting planners, event planners that hire me to speak, or companies that hire me to speak, also follow me there. And we always start out as a client relationship, and we always end as friends. Like my Christmas list for clients is hundreds long. That's expensive when you're buying gifts, by the way.
And Christmas cards.
Yeah,
it's very expensive.
We don't even do Christmas gifts in our own family, but all my clients get something. My kids are like, I wish I was a client.
Yeah, they should start paying you, Mom. That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, you know what? Ask them. You want to get better? Ask them, what could I do better? What could I do differently? What didn't I cover that you'd like me to cover? Is there an area that really, really, really resonated with you? What would you like to know more about? And you know what? People like to talk about themselves. They'll tell you exactly what they liked and what they didn't.
Great advice. So last but not least, we've covered a wide array of topics, but is there any advice that you would offer to anybody who's considering becoming a speaker or who has presentations for work? Any advice that we haven't covered here tonight?
Oh my gosh, that is such a loaded question.
It is.
Really?
It is.
How long can we run the reel?
Well,
oh God, I'm
not
trying to
anything
think.
either, but
Well, yeah, I have plenty of advice. No one usually wants to listen. No, I'm kidding.
but they don't have a choice.
Right.
So.
You don't have a choice, okay? It's going to be on the test. No, really the advice is I can't stress the research part enough. And if you're doing this for work and you're not comfortable, I coach speakers, or I coach like CEOs, and I'm not saying call me. I'm just saying if you're not, you could. But I'm just saying find someone that can help you, because I'm all about shortening the learning curve. Don't reinvent the wheel. And you know what? There's enough wheels out there. All you have to do is perfect the wheel, and it's got to be your wheel. Get help. There's people that will help you overcome any of the areas that you're concerned about or that you need help on, and they can do it in relatively short order. I just was on the phone today with one of my clients, and he's working on this huge presentation. He's a CEO of a company that maybe has, I think they do almost $2 billion in revenue.
Oh.
And believe it or not, he is really afraid of public speaking. I mean,
wow.
He said that he's dripping wet. I've flown in with him, and I've been working with him for about half a year. This is like the 5th presentation that he's done now, and he was so confident, and you can hear confidence in your voice. You can see what confidence looks like. And today, when we were Skyping, I could both see it in his smile and in his demeanor and how he sat and how excited he was. And I said, ask your employees how you're doing. And he goes, Renee, I asked him, and he goes, they tell me I'm getting better all the time. And so you know what? If you're not comfortable doing it, and not very many people are, honestly, get help. Get help, because they can get you through that time and get you through that fear and really hone in on what you need to hone in on. And for those of you that want to be speakers, answer your inner call earlier than I did, number one. But, you know, life is a journey. It's a process. So take everything with you, everything that you think, oh my gosh, aha. Because everything you see as a speaker is material. Everything for me, every day, is material. I just was on a 5-day tour, or I have a fall tour, but I was on a 5-day run, and every day, I could have written a keynote speech every single day on just what happened in that day. And I promise you it would be funny, and the message would be powerful. Just on what I learned. Open your eyes, listen. Open your eyes every day and look around you. Everything is material. From being with your kids to your husband, if you don't have kids, with your dog, in the dog park, at the mall, at school. Everything is material. And start writing it down, because what you really need as a keynote speaker, you need one amazing signature story that you'll be known for, and you need about 30 other stories that you can interchange depending on what your genre is. I probably have 200 of them. All I do is jot them down when I'm on the run. I have a place where I keep them all, and I refer to them because I may use one of those and really perfect it before I go out to my next big audience. I never know when I'm going to draw on that, but it's like having an arsenal of stories, and that's called life. And I exchange them when I'm out speaking. So life is material, and every day look for your material all around you, and you'll be successful. If you honor and find your purpose by honoring your passion and your gifts, and therein you'll find your purpose, and look at life every single day as material for your next speech, you are going to be a rock star. All right, you guys know you're going to be tested on this. Please let me know how you do. And just find me on Facebook, Renee Rongen, or Renee at ReneeRongen.com. Find me or tweet me. I guess I'm tweeting now. I don't get that whole thing, but I guess I'm doing that. I don't know. So find me. I can't even tell you what my tweet handle or whatever that is, but you can tell I'm old. No.
Well, thank you, Renee. We do appreciate it. And the last bit I'll mention that I thought was very powerful is life is material. Renee Rongen, everybody. Thanks.
Have fun.